Good morning. Hey, it's Monday, and I want to talk a little bit more about planning. In a video last week, one of the first videos that I did, I spoke about planning and a few other things, and it was the number one video so far by quite a bit. So my assumption is people care about planning and want to know how to do it. So I want to talk a little bit more about planning, how I do it, how I determine whether or not I've had a successful day, a successful week, and how I generally do everything. So to I guess the first thing is the very first thing I do is on Sunday night. I look at what I did the previous week. So I give myself a grade. I'll go through and I'll look and I'll say these are the things I needed to accomplish in order to have a successful week. And for me, those successful weeks are really fall into four areas. It's how did I do with Caliber Security Partners? How did I do with 3PNT Security Recruiting? Now, how am I doing with this blowing up your business fan page and I guess movement that I'm trying to get going? And last is how did I do personally? Those are the four areas I look at. And each week, the first thing I do is I gauge how did I do versus those critical tasks, those critical items that I had to do in order for me to be successful. That's the very first thing I do is I take a look at that, and then I grade myself and I look at where can I improve. So after I've done that, anything that was critical that didn't get done, I move into the following week. I guess first thing I do is I determine whether or not it's still critical, because if it was super critical, I would have got it done. But I still usually move those into the next week. Now, then what I do is I sit down and determine in those four areas what do I need to get done in order to really have a successful week in those four areas. And then I put those down, and I make sure I then reevaluate them and say, are those critical? Are those things that are really going to move that ball forward in those areas? Because that's what I want to do is I want to have a successful week, and everything that I do has to move things forward. I can't have anything on there that's fluff. Fluff kind of happens, but it definitely is not on my critical items list. And that's what I want to do is I want to make sure that everything I handle is critical. So the next thing I do is once I've done that is I'm going to look at the next day. And again, I do this on Sunday night, and I do it specifically on Sunday night because I want to have a great Monday. And Mondays are my favorite day of the week. I was talking to Jackson, one of my guys in here, and he's like, man, I love Mondays. Mondays are my favorite day of the week. And I was like, man, it's my favorite day of the week too. It's my favorite day of the week because when I come to work, I know exactly what it is I've got to accomplish for the week, and I know exactly what it is that I have to accomplish for the day. So that's why it's my favorite day of the week. But what I do is then I start to say, hey, everything that's on my critical from the week, I need to figure out what am I going to move into the critical for the day. So in this case, what in the week am I going to move into the critical for the week for Monday? And so I'll move in items and I'll say, this is what I'm going to accomplish today. And some of those things are time, time blocks. Like for Caliber, I might say, this week, hey, I want to get X amount of hours done while I'm prospecting. I'm looking for new business. And if I do a simple split of 5 days, it's going to be, in this case, it's going to be 4 hours. So I'm going to have 4 hours of work to do that I need to get done. But I start to then plan out my Monday, and I go, everything from this is when I wake up, this is when I get ready, this is when this is kind of my morning ritual, this is when I leave. Everything is broken down all the way until the time I go to bed. I plan out my entire day. Now, one asterisk to that is probably about 0% of the time do I ever actually follow that thing to a T. It's a guideline and it changes throughout the day, and I reset and I reset and I reset. But the goal is to always get those critical tasks done. Now, yesterday when I was doing it, and this is actually pretty common, I had all these items down, and I start to break it down hour, not hour by hour, but really minute by minute. I try to do it at a minimum 5-minute blocks. Very few things do I have that only take 5 minutes. Normally they take quite a bit longer, but I try to do that, break it down, so I can plan. I get to the end of the day, and I've got 2 tasks that are still on my weekly tasks that have not been completed. And my week to or my day today, it's 15 hours long, and that includes, a couple of personal items. I've got to go to the doctor for an appointment. But my day is 15 hours, and that's not unusual. 15, 16-hour days. It's just how I like to live, and I'm really big on intermeshing my life. So sometimes, that 16-hour day has some personal things in there, but big, huge on intermeshing. Not huge on the term balance, because I think balance leads you to think that you've got to do certain things over others, and everything's got to be equal, and that's just not reality. But I'm a firm believer in intermeshing. But as I looked at it, I look and I'm like, well, I'm going to be busy till about 11 o'clock tonight, and I got 2 items on there. So what I simply do is I just take those 2 items and move them off today's list. But my goal in doing that is to not overcommit myself. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm a natural overcommitter. I expect a lot out of myself, and I expect to do a lot. But the truth is that I gotta sleep sometimes, and so if time permits, I'll add some of those things in, but they're not in my critical to do today list. And that's what you kind of got to look at, is what is critical today that has to be done in order to move that forward, and you get those done. It's pretty simple. Don't skip doing the critical tasks that are needed. And there's a lot of people that talk about setting critical tasks, and they call them different things. Stephen Covey calls it and he's got a metrics that he uses that is really good, that kind of quickly breaks it down in what you really have to get done today. Guys like Andy Frisella, covers it in depth. There's a bunch of them. There's a lot of them out there that talk about this, and they talk about it for good reason. It's because you got to get done those critical tasks, those things that are most important. So don't forget that. My suggestion to you is, do a review Sunday night so you can see how well did I do. Plan your week out Sunday night. Just know exactly what it is that you want to accomplish. Just get that set in stone, and then break out your day every day. It's I do it. I don't do it as religiously as I should, but I do look and say, did I meet the daily goals? So when Sunday comes, it's not a shock. That's what you want to do. Is you want to just kind of keep this ball rolling. You want to keep this thing going, and one thing I would say, another caveat to all of this, everybody's got different lives that they live. If you're an entrepreneur, but you're a young mother, you're not going to get 15 hours of work in. Yeah, you got these kids running around and they need care, and you're driving them everywhere and whatever. But look at your schedule and say, this is how much I'm going to dedicate today, and every day, every week, I can do this. My wife is an example. She helps out with the grandkids, and so she has to sit there every Sunday and say, this is how much I can dedicate this week in order to move the business forward. Those are the things that each one of us have to do that's unique. For me, I don't have those challenges, so I can cram in a lot of hours into the week. Another suggestion I would give you is, and everybody's at different levels. People say I work too much. I disagree. I think it's all play for me. I just love this. I love what I do, and I want to just keep on doing more of it. But work until you just can't work anymore, until you're done. That to me is, the key to all of it. Is my body tells me, hey, you're done. My mind tells me, hey, you're done. And sometimes they collide at the same time. Sometimes one of them gets there sooner, but that's kind of what I do. The last thing I'd say is, all of this, whatever you plan, all of your goals, just assume they're going to take a lot longer than you thought. and you're going to have frustrations, you're going to have doubts, you're going to, you're going to question yourself. Just know that you're not alone, that all of this takes a freaking heck of a lot of time to accomplish. And so if you say, I'm going to be $1 million company in 2 years, you either need to change that, lower that goal, which I don't buy into. I think you should keep your goal, but I guess you could lower your goal. You're going to have to work smarter. You're going to have to enlist other people. You're going to have to expand how long you think it's going to take. You're going to have to do something different than what you expect in order to reach those goals. Guarantee you. Sometimes I think some people might be able to pull that off, but the average person, the average situation, is going to take a lot longer. Anyway, hope this planning session helped you. And as always, please share. I'm growing this thing organically, at least right now. And I hope to continue to do so. Anyway, thanks a lot. Have a great day. And if you need me, just reach out. Thanks a lot.